of mushrooms. I've been collecting for several years. I have about 25,000 collections right now, and I do a couple of different extracts on them, and isolate different types of compounds in each extract. So I have from each one I have at least two. These are then, I have several collaborations with universities, collaborations with different small companies around, and I try to get funding from the NIH, and that's what I've been successful at getting it for several years now. But these, we look for, they're sent out sometimes to people who have very specialized assays, like they're using a pathogenic bacteria, extremely pathogenic bacteria. There's one Institute for Tuberculosis at University of Illinois that I've sent samples to. They look for things that are active, but once they're active, then the work starts, because you have to isolate the compound that is active in these. And these are natural products. Most of these things are being attacked by various eukaryotic type organisms. They're eaten by mammals, they're attacked by bacteria and fungus. Most of these fungus are attacked by several different types of species of fungus that are specific to it. Right. And they have chemical warfare. So we're looking for those defensive compounds that are in these fungus. And frequently they're very low percent, they're very, a 0.1% of the total number of compounds in there, so it's very, very difficult to isolate. But we've been successful in a couple of different things, and we're working on an antibacterial compound and an antifungal compound, and actually trying to collect to Ramaria because I want to make sure of the structure of the compound that we're trying to get synthesized. Because it's very expensive to get synthesized.
Great.
In a nutshell, that's.
Thank you, Ed. So that's biochemistry fighting disease is where we're going. So if you find cool Ramarias, thousands of them, get in touch with Ed. So Ramarias are the corals that have sort of one thick base and then a bunch of branches that come up from the thick base. So we're going to have Beth talk about Rusula. Frank used to be our Rusula spokesperson, but he's handing the torch off, even though he didn't know it, to our new resident expert.
Couldn't happen to a nicer girl.
So Beth, just a little on Rusula.
And knowledgeable as can be, the young lady.
Okay, the Rusula species, as Terry mentioned, is related to Lactaria species. And it is the brittle gill, and if you want to throw one against a tree, it's kind of fun to watch it break apart. They're very colorful. You'll see them everywhere out there. Even on a dry day, we still have quite a few species that Frank and I have identified. One of the things that we see a lot of red russulas, and we kick them. But there are so many different, and you can see here, just today, we have 7 or 8 different species of red russula.
Wow.
Well, they all look the same.
Yeah.
Wow.
The characteristics that we look for, though, there's a key that we use. We look at the color, which can vary even within the same species. We look at how far it peels. It can peel anywhere from just the edge to the entire thing. We taste it when we're brave. Some of them are very, very hot. Some of them are very mild, no taste at all. Some are bitter. That's one of the keys. We smell it, of course, see if there's any odor at all. Some of them smell fishy. This one right here, if anybody wants to smell this, smells like almonds. Ooh. You want to pass that around? It smells like beautiful. It smells like almond oil.
Until it gets older.
Then until it gets older, it smells really nasty, like dead fish. But so we look at that. We look at the gill color and the spore color, which we can't really see very well right now unless you do a spore print, and the color of the stipe, the stem, whether it's white or whether it's flushed. Like this one's flushed pink, that one's white. Whether it's stains, I have this is one of the black staining. You can see where I scratched that, it's very black. And all of those keys, all of those characteristics give us a letter key that we use to look up in this very complicated key, and there are so many species. I mean, you can see in the book here that these are all the different species that it could possibly be depending on how it keys out. And this particular book I made for myself for my own use, just because I like pictures.
Gorgeous.
I like pictures. So, but then we have the descriptions. So Frank and I had a few arguments today, or
Two
actually
on
said
every one of them.
debates. Debates. We had a few debates. Yes, discussions, scientific discussions about some of these. And some of them are we just never get to the answer because they can key out and it just doesn't fit. So, but it's a very difficult species to learn because they are so similar, and there are edibles in this species, but there are not choice edibles in this species. So it's not one that a lot of people want to learn because it's not something that people are going out looking for Boletus edulis. You know, it's like you got a Russula costosa. Yeah, it's good for a meal, but it's not something you're going to go out. Oh, I got to find one of those. You know, so. But that's my
Good,
3
thank you,
minutes.
Beth. Excellent. So Rusulas, the way you're going to remember it is crumble caps. So that's always the way to remember a Rusula is they fall apart like that. The Lactarius do the same thing, but they have latex in it, so then you have that milky stuff all over your hands. And they're brother and sister taxa, Lactarius and Rusula. So I want to have Connie talk, but just before Connie talks, when you look at a table like this, think about the mushrooms. All these mushrooms, like the Rusulas and the boletes and the Lactarius, they're joined up underground with tree roots. They're mycorrhizal, symbiotic fungi. All the ones growing on wood are decay fungi. So we have these two huge groups of fungi that we pick every week, either the mycorrhizal, symbiotic fungi that grow with tree roots, or wood decay fungi. So I'm going to just let Connie talk about anything or whatever she wants to
I
talk
really have not much to say. I'm mentally really kind of relaxed today. But I just want to say, you know, we can get hung up about the names, but remember to just look for the most beautiful things. Look under dead wood. Look, and remember to look close because there's just so much beauty. It's what gets me through the woods.
Excellent. Your 3 minutes are up.
Thank you.
So let's say we'll have a little question and answer session. So if anybody has a question for any of the club elders, I guess.
Which ones are the edibles?
Are they good?
Can I eat that?
Back and forth and
So we think of boletes as mushrooms that are fleshy. That means they decay quickly. They're annuals, not perennials, and they have pores. But this is a bolete, and it has gills. This is Phylloporus rhodozanthus. It's a bolete because the molecules, the molecular structure, is similar, most similar to all the members of the boletes. This mushroom right here, the false chanterelle, Hygrophorapsis aurantiacum, is also related to the boletes. And this mushroom right over here, Paxillus involutus, poison pax, the poisonous Paxillus, is also a bolete. So look, these three gilled mushrooms are actually boletes. They're in the Boletales family by evolutionary relationship. Even though they don't have pores anymore, they're still related more closely than they are to the gilled mushrooms. So these three are more closely related to the boletes than they are to the Rusulas, or than they are to the Mycena, or to the Lactarius.
But who cares?
But do we care? No, but we do care that this is poisonous. Because some people used to eat this mushroom, Bacillus involutus. We didn't get a chance to talk about Amanita, and everybody should know a little bit about Amanita, so I'm just going to hold up. Amanita volvata, this one right here, is a good example of what a universal veil is. This little cup used to surround the whole baby mushroom, kind of like this. And then the mushroom breaks through that little cup, which looked sort of like a little puffball. And the stuff on top is actually the remnants of the top of the cup. So we call this the universal veil. This is also universal veil, only we call them warts. Warts is just an unfancy name for the remnants of the universal veil on the cap surface right there. When you see a mushroom that has free gills, which means that the gills are not attached to the stem, there's a little space there, and a cup, and usually a ring. Let me see if I have one with a ring here. That's pretty amazing. We don't really... Yeah, this one has a ring right here, Amanita brunescens, variety pallida. So if it has a ring and a cup and warts, good chance you're in the Amanita group, which has the killers, the deadly poisonous killer mushrooms. We don't happen to have the deadly poisonous killer mushrooms today, but we usually collect Amanita bisporigera, which is the destroying angel. These all have white spores. So if you eat mushrooms and you're a beginner, get in the habit of making a spore print to find out what color the spores are. And the way you do that is you cut the cap off and you put it on a piece of paper and you cover it with a bowl. And you leave it there for 3 or 4 hours and the spores fall out on the piece of paper and you can tell if you have white spored, cream spored, purple spored, any other colored spored. So that's really kind of an interesting thing to do, and it's a good first step about finding out what your mushroom is. Amanitas are white spored, Lactarius are white spored, Russula are white spored, Paxillus is brown spored. Where's my poison pack? Not only is it brown spored like all the like most of the boletes, but the spores are sausage shaped like most of the boletes. So the shape of the spores, when you look at a microscope, is important too.
What about this?
All right, so this is a wood decay fungi, Pholiota. I call it the onion bagel mushroom. If you smell it, it smells like an onion bagel to me. Some people eat that mushroom. I personally don't eat it. And then there's another one that looks very similar to this that's greasier, slippier. So a regular mushroom with a stem and cap and gills can also be a wood decay fungi. The other deadly poisonous mushroom in Connecticut is Galerina marginata, which is a small brown gilled mushroom that grows on wood that looks a little bit like a honey mushroom. So that's something to think about. When you collect honey mushrooms, make a spore print. If they're white, you have a honey mushroom. If they're brown, you could have a Galerina or Pholiota. Yeah, baby honeys right here. Little baby honey mushrooms right here. This is what the Italians call nails or nail heads. A little bit small for eating right now, but when they get a little bit bigger, the heads are nice, delicious mushroom, which is also a wood decay mushroom. And some forms of this can attack trees and are really serious pathogens of forests, and others not so much.
The footprint of this is white.
The spore print is white. Yep. And here's the ringless honey mushroom. This is a honey mushroom, but it doesn't have a ring. This mushroom will have a ring later on in life when it grows up. It's a little flap of tissue that covers the gills, and then, like an umbrella, when the cap expands, then that tissue falls down and it forms a ring or an annulus. This mushroom is the ringless honey mushroom, and that's how you tell it apart from the regular 4 or 5 other different kinds of honey mushrooms.
Is that an annual or is that perennial?
This is
Annual.
This is an annual, but it can grow in the same spot year after year each season. So I don't know if you want to call that. When I say a perennial, I mean a fruiting body that's above ground for more than a year.
Okay. Because I thought honey's the biggest organism
Right,
in
they
America.
they
That's
do,
underground.
and they shoot out those rhizomorphs to find a new substrate to start a new colony. So not only are they perennial, they'll probably go on for hundreds of years. But it's the below ground part,
Fruiting body.
fruiting body.
Sure. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. Who else wants to
I have
talk?
a question about what you said about